Good afternoon and welcome to the big show. The big show we do it a little different in the summer, but usually once we get going again with training camp and everything coming up just around the corner, we will probably get back to doing it 4 or 5 days a week. But nevertheless, today was a very rare day in the off season in that the Steelers, they actually made a lot of news today. And so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. And some of the trades and everything else. And, of course, the Pirates scored a zillion runs this weekend, so we'll talk a little bit about them at the end. But for the most part, we are going to focus on your Pittsburgh Steelers, who made quite the splash today, at least in the world of the NFL, by basically trading for an All-Pro, really, for an All-Pro. They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, who – clearly is was one of their quote unquote superstars. And they traded him to Miami along with a pick, and they swapped like a fifth for a seventh or whatever to get Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. So now, you look at where the Steelers are at, and you kind of have to wonder, is this really sort of their version of going all in? And there's a lot of people that don't seem to think that, or at least some people don't seem to think that. But if this were like 5 years ago, this compilation of players they have would probably be very, very much impressive. I mean, could you imagine if it was like 3 or 4 years ago they had Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, some of the guys they had, Cam Hayward a few years younger. But now we have to talk about what actually is this going to do for the Steelers. First of all, I can't help but think that one of these guys, either Darius Slay or Jalen Ramsey, they're going to have to play at least some safety. Maybe not full-time safety, but they're going to have to play some safety in order to fill the void left by Minkah Fitzpatrick. Jonnu Smith, I just hope, and really I hope beyond hope, that this doesn't mean that they're going to basically do everything in their power to not go out and get a receiver still. And so, if you think about it, everyone's been talking for a year and a half about, Arthur Smith, he needs to have Arthur Smith needs to have all these tight ends and all this other stuff. Okay, I got a lighting issue here. Give me 1 second. I have a lighting issue. Give me 1 second. But anyway, it's one of those things where, all right, that's a little better, I think. There we go. Let's try that. There's lights everywhere. There we go. How about that? Anyway, Arthur Smith needs tight ends. He wants tight ends. They've got Mount Washington now and Pat Freiermuth, and they got Jonnu Smith, and they still have Connor Hayward, and they're going to use Jonnu Smith. I think it was our own Ray Fittipaldo was writing about how they plan on using Jonnu Smith as a H-back or a tight end or even a fullback in some situations. Well, the one thing I'll say about that is if that's truly the case, where does Connor Hayward fit in? Because that's his role. And the bottom line is Darnell Washington is their best blocking tight end, so they're going to have to use him. And Pat Freiermuth is Pat Freiermuth. He's obviously their best pass catcher from the tight end position. He's not a good blocker. Jonnu Smith's not a great blocker. So they're going to have to use those three guys. And if they use those three guys, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Connor Hayward, But I keep reading about, they're going to go 12 or 13 personnel, 2 or 3 tight ends, 1 running back, and DK Metcalf. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. I have to see evidence that Arthur Smith is this great offensive guru, that his offense is some cutting edge thing that, nobody else can do, that they're not going to be able to stop. I'm sorry, you're not going to be unstoppable with basically 1 playmaker. And at the end of the day, teams that really are the best offensive teams that are around, I got to be honest with you, they've got a lot of really good receivers. They've got dangerous players. They've got guys that are out there that can actually, force you to have to defend them and even double them and everything else. When you've got a bunch of tight ends, I think the thing that's hilarious, it's like, well, they're loading up at tight end. It's really going to help their run game. That's great, except for 2 of their 3 tight ends aren't good blockers. So what are they doing? I mean, this honestly, someone said this on social media today, and I fully agree with this. This is starting to feel like, do you remember a bunch of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when the Philadelphia Eagles acquired the dream team? They went out and got all these old free agents, and they're like, look at this roster. And it was like, yeah, look at that roster. 5 years ago, they'd be a Super Bowl team. Instead, it was a disaster. I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster because, the Steelers seem to figure it out where they can win 9 or 10 games every year. But I don't know. Am I wrong in saying that they're just kind of adding a bunch of old guys that aren't necessarily going to make them better? I don't want to be, that guy, negative Yinzer guy. I get it. And on paper, when you look at it, you say, okay, they brought in Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. They're going to do everything in their power to try and win this year with him. They're going to try and do everything in their power to win this year with him. And so if that's the case, I will tell you that, you know what, go for it. But I don't know that adding a bunch of old guys is really going to take you over the top where you need to go. I think at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have enough players that are capable of really making plays. I still think their best corner is probably Joey Porter Jr. That doesn't change anything from last year. I mean, I think Jalen Ramsey is good, but I don't know that he's the guy he was, a few years ago. And then I think the other thing is when you think about, Darius Slay, I mean, okay. 3 or 4 years ago, I think he'd be great. But then I think, maybe it'll work. Maybe Jalen Ramsey becomes a really good player again, or figures out what he's doing again, right? And then maybe Darius Slay has something left in him. Maybe Aaron Rodgers can sling it around still. And there's a lot that you have to, really take into account with this team, in this roster. But again, I just don't know that compiling a bunch of names necessarily makes this a better team. I think when you look at this team, it seems pretty clear to me that they have a lot of answers. And they have a lot of questions that still need to be answered. And it's one of those things where, Jonnu Smith, I think, is a nice player. I don't think he gets them where they want to go. I mean, they need to go get a receiver. They still need to add that guy. And it sounds like they're talking to Tyler Boyd. I mean, I guess if we're trying to compile a back to the future team, that's great. Clareton kid, played at Pitt, yada, yada. I get it. But is the goal to have, feel good hometown stories? Or is it to try and put together the best roster you can? Because there's better receivers out there on the market still. And there's probably some guys you can make some trades for. To be honest. To be brutally honest. And I think that's where we're talking, that's where I look at it and say, we're really talking about trying very hard to, convince ourselves that this fantasy football approach that they've taken this offseason is necessarily going to work. By the same token, you can't have it both ways. For years and years and years and years, Steelers fans have been complaining that the Steelers don't go out and make enough moves in the offseason. That they're antiquated in that, they rely on the draft so heavily that they're antiquated, that nobody does that. I wish they'd go out and sign, free agents and all that stuff and sign guys and all that. Okay. Well, now they have. And it seems like people are still not happy. I always say this, okay? I am willing to give every move in every offseason the benefit of the doubt until the games start. I'm also willing to concede that we still have like a month before training camp even starts. They could go out and still add other people. That's the point. They could still add other people and go out and add guys that, make them better even. They could go get another receiver, They might be able to make a trade. Maybe they trade somebody. I don't know. Maybe they trade Freiermuth. I doubt it, but I'm just saying there's guys that are out there that maybe they trade and make. So I'm willing to concede anything until the season starts. Once the games begin, all bets are off. If they can't win, obviously winning and losing is what really matters. So I'm just telling you, when I look at the Steelers this offseason, I want to believe that they're better. I want to believe that they are, going to, suddenly find some sort of explosion on offense. And, I want to believe that. I want to believe that they've fixed some of the holes they've had on defense, that they'll be better against the run more consistently, that they'll, have a better opportunity to stop really good passers. I want to believe that. And my thing is, I just have to see it. Again, someone reacted here and said, oh, they're not going to trade Pat Freiermuth. I think I said they're probably not going to trade him, but if you think about the commodity or the pieces that they have on offense that might bring something back, that they could maybe be expendable because they made the moves that they did today. I mean, Freiermuth is probably the only name I could come up with, right? You only got two, really, you only have two running backs, so you're not trading one of those guys. And you're not trading DK Metcalf because he just got here. Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, those guys, they're not bringing anything back. They're just not. So, I look at it and I say, basically, you've got one person that you probably could still trade on offense and get something for and not lose much of anything. And that would be Freiermuth. But again, I agree with the poster. They're not going to trade him. So where is the room for them to even make some more moves to get better? I just don't think it's there. There was another report today, some nonsense of, again, there were two other reports, today. One was that teams are going to, take a shot at TJ Watt. The Steelers have made it very clear. They're not trading him. So why are we talking about it? It's stupid. Why talk about it? It's dumb. It really is. Because they're not going to trade him. They're not. They're going to sign him. They're going to give in to whatever, he wants. They're going to give in to his, demand for more money than Myles Garrett got. They're going to sign him to some obscene deal for 3 years or something, or 4 years. He would be a tradable commodity. I mean, if you traded TJ Watt, yeah, he would bring something back, but I don't believe for 1 second that they're even thinking about it. But Schefter had a report, teams are like gearing up to see what they're going to do and all that other stuff. Who cares what teams are trying to do? The Steelers are not going to trade him, so it's a dumb discussion. The other thing was the Tyler Boyd thing. Again, if we're going to compile the feel-good Back to the Future story, I guess that's a good signing for them. But there are better receivers out there for them to sign. I just believe that. And honestly, again, I'm willing to concede this could all work out and work out well. I'm just a little bit skeptical. You'll have to, excuse me, I'm a little bit skeptical when they keep signing all pros that were all pros long ago, who haven't played like all pros recently. That makes me a little bit skeptical. But hey, you still have Cam Hayward, you still have T.J. Watt, now you have Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. You've got a number of guys that are on your defense that are stars. Maybe it works. Just like maybe playing 14 tight ends is going to work. I don't know. But again, people want to know, well, maybe they're going to make a move now to go get a receiver. Again, the only person they could trade on offense, there's one, Pat Freiermuth, because they got Jonnu Smith. And they're not going to trade Pat Freiermuth. So, and even if they did, how good of a player are they going to get back for him? Not that he's not a good player. He's a good player, but he's not, somebody that's going to fetch like an all-pro, a legitimate all-pro receiver in his prime. That's just what I'm going to tell you. Joining us now, can you hear me, Tony?
I can, Paul.
Is our good friend from the general manager of the Washington Wild Things, Tony Basile. Tony, we'll get to baseball in a little bit, but you're, just as much as anybody else around here. You follow the Steelers, and obviously your Wild Things have a connection with Cam Hayward and his foundation and all that other stuff. So you're as interested of a party as anybody. Are you a buyer of what this offseason has become, which is go out and compile as many big names, even if they're over the hill, as you possibly can compile?
It's tough right now. I think the Jonnu Smith one makes the most sense for me at the moment. You see there's at least a streamlined connection of how he'll be utilized in the offense and the way Arthur wants to do it. The Jalen Ramsey one to me is interesting. Obviously, everybody's floating out the scenarios now. Is he going to be a slot guy? Is he going to be on the outside? Is he going to be at safety with the opening? I think that's going to be the biggest kicker in terms of how the organization looks to try to utilize him. I would imagine they're not done. I imagine there's going to be – I looked at it real briefly, just my casual eye of what they got, like 4 true safeties on the roster at the moment. You're not going into training camp in that position when typically they carry 4 or over 4, with Miles Killebrew being one of them. So interested to see kind of how everything breaks down. It was an interesting day. I certainly did a double take when I saw Minkah's name was thrown in there. I thought it was one of those bot fake accounts when I first saw it. But I'm sure I rode the roller coaster like everybody else. You get all excited about the trade. You see Minkah's name attached to it. You kind of hit rock bottom. How do you do player for player in that scope? And then Jonnu's name comes into it, and it looks a little bit better than maybe it did 5 minutes before that.
Well, what's interesting is, remember, they were flirting with Jonnu Smith a couple of weeks ago, and then like Schefter or one of those guys reported, oh, that's dead. There's no chance he's not coming here. And then, of course, the local writers basically, oh, well, the Steelers no longer have interest in him. And then here, and next thing you know, he's here. I think that I can see the plan, Tony. Okay, on offense, you've got Arthur Smith. He likes to have the multiple tight ends, and he likes to try and play big and strong and physical and run the ball and all that good stuff. But my thing is, 2 of your tight ends are not good blockers. And so if you put all 3 of them on the field, I don't know that you're making yourself better as a running team. I just think that sometimes, we get enamored with these trades. And then to your point, when I saw they traded for Jalen Ramsey, I was like, oh, okay, what'd they give up? Like a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick or something like that. And then you see it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. And it's kind of like, well, you took one of your all-pros out of the equation to add another guy who's an all-pro who I think is actually older. Isn't Jalen Ramsey older than Minkah Fitzpatrick? I think Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, he's 30, and then I think Minkah's only 28.
Yeah. So you went and got an older guy at a position that you already have and took your guy. Yeah, he's 28. Minkah's 28. So you have a guy 2 years older playing out of position. Or, I've heard people today, it's funny, Tony, anytime stuff like this happens, all of a sudden everybody comes out of the woodwork. They're all John Madden, or, they're all, I called one guy Buddy Ryan because he was trying to explain defense. And yeah, when they go nickel, obviously that, it makes their nickel package better because you got 3 corners. But could you see Darius Slay playing some safety? Could you see Jalen Ramsey? Or how about could they move Joey Porter Jr. to safety since he's so physical?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of variables in it, and that's why I don't think they're done. I mean, everyone's wishful thinking of Justin Simmons or one of the Julian Blackmons of the world, a couple of these guys who are still free agents on the safety side, kind of jump on board and you can reslot everybody. But it definitely would look really interesting. I mean, I can't imagine a more physical press coverage, hands on the wide receiver core would be, or the cornerback group it would be, if you roll out Joey Porter, Slay on the outside, and then Ramsey in the slot, and you're just trying to bully guys right up front. So
yeah, could be very interesting. I mean, really, if you think about it. And your guy Cam Hayward got some help in the draft. They went out and got in their first. They used their first round pick to actually solidify the defensive line. It's now Cam Hayward probably is going to have some help when with Derek Harmon and whatnot. So I don't know. The defense probably should be better, right?
I think they're throwing a lot of bodies at the problem, and that's the best way to go about it. I mean, if they weren't going to spend the big time money for the Jonathan Allens of the world and these high end DNs, you had to kind of. I mean, you look at it now. I mean, they have probably like 8 or 9 guys in this rotation for the D line that were either draft picks or free agent additions of at least some sort of notoriety. I mean, you're looking at like the Dean Lowry's, like those are guys who were meaningful starters in the league for a while, and he's probably on the outs of the rotation. And same way with middle backer. I mean, you went into it thinking, okay, Malik Harrison and Peyton Wilson, and I mean, you're gonna end with what you're doing with Patrick Queen, and all of a sudden you get Cole Holcomb back, and I mean, it's kind of a bodies, especially in the middle of the field. There's a lot of bodies in the middle of the field, and that's why I say the one situation with safety right now, it still looks light. So you have to think they're going to try to add a veteran or a free agent here, or maybe a cut after training camp to kind of help out in deep center, because you don't have really that ball hawk. At least with some fluid hips who can out there and play that center field game.
Have you ever, you're a guy who has to compile teams for a living. That's your job. Have you ever just had like a problem, like we need a second baseman, and you just went out and threw like 5 or 6 bodies and try and fill a hole? Has it ever worked out for you?
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it, especially because, I mean, you're looking at different skill sets from guys, and you don't want to really pigeonhole. I mean, it's especially with the way the game has been going, or even the NFL or any of these games are going, you try to have different styles balance things out. So in our world, we would say, okay, hey, we want to have 3 infielders competing for one spot. And, okay, let's get an offensive-minded guy. Let's maybe get a switch hitter. Let's get a defensive-focused guy and see what kind of fits stylistically with what else is there. So I'm sure that's very much of the mold, even as they round out kind of their rosters, and whether it's on the hockey sense or regardless of the sport, anytime you can bring a different skill set into the room and see how it complements the guys that they're paired up with. So whether that's line mates on hockey or on the baseball field, or obviously when you're running kind of these DN stunts and a lot of the games defensively, you want to find the guys who have that natural flow working together.
Well, before we transition to baseball, there's an event that you and I have been a part of for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, 3 or 4, actually 4 years now, or whatever it's been, coming up with respect to Cam Hayward. So why don't you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we'll be doing our 5th year, I believe, of the Three Rivers Celebrity Softball Game with Cam, benefiting the Hayward House. It's our effort. It's the way I really wanted to get the community to feel like they can be involved, of supporting the Hayward House and giving back to the kids here in the region. So every year has its unique challenges, and it's always a hustle, and it's always a nice event to get people all together at the end of the day. So we have celebrities and athletes from all across the country. Richard Sherman's flying in from Seattle for the event. Then you got obviously a lot of the local guys, the James Harrisons of the world, the Joe Haydens of the world coming out here, and a lot of the active guys. I know I got the 2 Ohio State rookies, Will Howard, and Jack Sawyer, they're stepping up on the rookie class level of getting involved with this event. And yeah, I mean, it's just great to kind of bring everybody together across a bunch of different sports. We got Rutger McGroarty from the Penguins involved. I always have a couple wrestlers in. Cam has a bunch of celebrities flying in from California, from TV shows and movies. So it's their way of kind of supporting Cam and having a lot of fun with it. And, I think it's entertaining for them to kind of be in that setting and work together. And I think just putting a baseball bat in somebody's hands like that, they learn very quickly. Eye-hand coordination is on a different level with this sport compared to what they're used to. But at the end of the day, it's really fun. We try to raise as much money for Cam, and know kind of what he does here for the community. And I always speak very positively of what working with him is like, and how genuine his efforts are for this region. A lot of people can say, hey, it's eyewash. It's just something that when you're with this organization, I'll speak to it as just an individual who's working with him for all these years. It really matters to him. It really matters that the difference his family can make on kids in this area, and try to put them on a good path. So we're happy to be a very small part of it, and try to do it in a fun way, and something that, hey, a $15 ticket, hopefully everybody can come out and support, versus, hey, this isn't something where you need to drop $1,000 to be around these celebrities. We want to make it affordable. We want to really create those memories for everybody.
I think I'm 0-4 as a coach, by the way, in this game.
Great.
Huh?
I said that's great to hear. I don't know if that's good that, hey, you're due a win sooner or later, or your pitching it could see better days. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think my pitching has seen better days, but I also I gotta be honest with you. You do a first class job with that whole event, and it's why I like to be a part of it, just because you do such a good job. And I think the other part of it that is really amazing is just how accessible the guys are to the fans that come. You know what I mean? For the most part, they'll sign autographs and take photos, and I think that's a part of it too. So it's fun to watch the whole event, and I think that's just one of the best compliments you can give. Is that, hey, but listen, it doesn't happen without you. So
yeah, it's work, but at the end of the day, hopefully I look back at it and I get exhausted by it, and I probably don't enjoy it as much. But the amount of people who, after the facts, are saying how great it was, or how much it meant to their kids or something like that. I mean, I'm at that point, I'm like, okay, I get guilt tripped into doing it over and over again.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's but I think but again, you're raising money for a really important cause.
Yep.
And I think Cam, one of the things about Cam we know is he's maybe one of the best guys that we've had, to wear any uniform in this city.
Mm-hmm.
So anything he does, I want to support it. I know you want to support it. I know a lot of people want to support it. So if you're out there and you're looking for something to do, what's the date and where's the website?
We're Monday, July 14th, so a little Monday night action. Yeah, tickets are on our website, WashingtonWildThings.com. $15, 100% of it goes to Cam and the foundation. So look forward to it. Hopefully we'll have some more good weather for it, and create some good memories for people out there with us.
So moving on, how is the Wild Things season going? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What are you guys? You're in sort of probably like the maybe getting close to the midpoint for your season.
Yeah, we're about 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks from our All-Star break, so it's an interesting time as kind of MLB approaches their trade deadline and the NHL free agency starts. A lot of things are kind of happening for us as well. We're fortunate. We're still playing well. We're in first place here in our division, like a 3 or 4 game lead. I don't know, like 7 or 8 games above 500. Playing well enough, not playing at our best, but I would rather say we're not playing our best and be in first place than to be below 500 and wanting to pull my hair out. So, but yeah, we're playing well, dealing with some injuries, we have some other guys who are trending really well. We're pretty active on the market of adding college guys or affiliated guys on rosters. So won our last series out in Illinois, and we're currently out in St. Louis. and then we do our first trip to Pearl, Mississippi, the old Double A of the Atlanta Braves. So we'll drive from St. Louis to Mississippi, play 3 games down there, and be back home. So I'm enjoying my break from them while I can, because July and August is a ton of home games, and it'll be fun, but it'll be tiring. Mondays are usually my crash days, where my body just shuts off and tries to recharge.
Well, I think that's, again, I always tell people the best value for a family in town is going to a Wild Things game. And if you got little kids, do you still have the milk and cookies for $1?
Milk and cookies every game for $1. We do every opportunity to keep beer cheap. We do our beer batter every night for people to cheer on a strikeout and get $2 pints. I do dollar pints every Thursday, fireworks every Friday. Kids are free on Sundays. I mean, we try to do all that stuff to just engage the community and get people out and be social and spend time together. And then rest assured, I do everything within my power to put as much winning baseball in this area as I can. That's important to me. I wouldn't stay in the business as long as I have if we weren't winning. That's just my competitive nature. And so hopefully we continue to do that and bring home another division title. I think that'd be like 3 in a row or 4 in a row. So that's our end goal of just hanging banners and chasing things in the playoffs.
Did you ever have a weekend like the Pirates just had, where they scored literally like 40 runs or something and won like 10-1, 8-1, 9-1 or whatever? Some weird thing. Only the 3rd time in franchise history they won by more than 7 runs 3 games in a row or something like that. Have you ever had that? I mean, that's the nature of baseball, isn't it? It's just weird. Like, team can look like be terrible and not be able to hit, and then all of a sudden they just I don't know. Do you buy that hitting is contagious, or what leads to an explosion like that?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of situational confidence shines through, of just guys being able to execute in certain spots, whether that's moving runners or driving in runs or big hits in key spots. You can feel that momentum and you feel that confidence kind of take over. The game and hitting is so mental that any little thing like that of clearing your mind goes a long way, and just allows you to be hyper focused on a whole different level when you're seeing 90, 95, 95 plus of just, I mean, it's such a game of millimeters and inches. I mean, so much of that of just being able to step in the box with a little more confidence goes a long way. You see that. And yeah, we definitely have had, I distinctly remember we had a series out where we're at right now in St. Louis. We probably put up 15 runs each game. I think it was like 15, 17, and maybe 20. This ballpark is very small. It's like 295 feet to right field, and it's known for being a launching pad for home runs. And we would just go out there and hit, I don't know, I think probably 10 home runs in the series. It was one of those offensive explosions. And yeah, it happens. I mean, pitching has bad days, and certainly now it's more interesting. I think it's more of a surprise coming at the major league level with how bad hitting is across the board, or how dominant pitching is across the board. To see that to kind of come to fruition at the major league level when everyone's throwing so hard and everybody's just power, strikeout focused, that you can do those 10 run games day in, day out, because the pitching is that good, and the hitters are just they're not really as interested of grinding out at bats as typically they were decades ago. So
that's the thing about it. It's weird. Like, I've heard hitting is contagious, but I don't know if I buy that. You know what I mean? Because it feels like one at bat doesn't have anything to do with the next. But then you see a situation like that, or like you're talking about with your team scoring all those runs in one weekend, and you say, well, maybe it is.
I think it's like basketball. I mean, you can, not my thing, but maybe your thing of, hey, if you got a teammate who's just lighting up three-pointers and they're feeling it behind the arc, and you feel like you're touching the ball, or he's setting you up well, you're gonna pull up with a little more confidence than somebody else, or just any of that stuff. Scoring goals in hockey, same type of thing. If you got a teammate kind of feeling it and they're playing on your line with you, you feel like you're just as creative, and that finishing touch is there. So The game is so mental. It's probably the most mental game in my opinion. With how much you typically fail, that for you to kind of just go into it with a good positive mind space. There are a lot of guys they can avoid riding the roller coaster. They could have been all pros or Hall of Famers, but the game really challenges you to a whole next level.
Yeah, well, there's no question about it. I think that's the biggest thing. When you look at that now, it just is funny. These teams sometimes just start hitting the hell out of the ball, and you're like, what is going on here? Just real quick, do you anticipate having at your level, having to make changes at the All-Star game? Is there a trade deadline? Is that kind of thing happen in your league?
Yeah, we'll have our trade deadline in August. I mean, we're constantly making moves. Like I've been on the phone this morning, working out potential trade opportunities, trying to find other free agents that are looking to try to continue to play, checking on some guys' medicals of free agents, of just guys who are in good spots. Then, once the MLB draft happens, we'll have a big influx of guys that did not get drafted or affiliated guys that are no longer needed because of the draft. But it's an ongoing battle. I'm trying to work some trades. We're fortunate to kind of our situation. A lot of my efforts are for kind of what MLB or the hockey rental type of situation. Hey, if I can get a guy at the trade deadline who can be one of my better arms out of the bullpen, I just kind of use that guy as a rental down the stretch, help me strengthen me down the playoff run. And then at the end of the year, he becomes a free agent and stuff like that. So that's kind of my efforts now is, hey, we're working from a surplus. We're in a good spot. We're in first place. We have a lot of good pieces. But as I get better, if I can make a trade with another organization to kind of not dump off some of my arms or a bat, but if I can make a move to kind of help me knowing that, hey, I'm probably going to be in the playoff run. And if I can load up on someone else's best player for a month, while I give them service for my guy for 3 months, it's a big run. So you got to be creative with that. You got to be forward-thinking with that. And, it's worked out for us in the past. So we try to follow that model of just collecting assets and leveraging down the road.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you, buddy. You know that. Thank you for taking some time jumping on. Yeah. We'll do it again next week, I'm sure. I look forward to seeing you on the 14th, and I look forward to getting down to a couple of your games. Once my basketball season slows down, I'll be able to come down and hang out with you and watch some baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep trying to do our thing here for the city and try to win a couple more games while you're there. And we always try to have a good time. So we'll look forward to having you out there, and definitely look forward to kind of continue to do what we do here for the region and sports, and try to chase another title for people here, and look forward to kind of the run of this season. It's been fun so far, tiring so far, but hopefully it always pays off at the end. So we enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. We enjoy you. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. I'll see you.
All right. Tony Baselli, Washington Wild Things general manager, and does a great job with that team. Puts together a great team, and of course, they do a lot of things. Just to circle back real quick, Steelers traded for Jonnu Smith, and they traded for Jalen Ramsey, and they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick to make it all happen. And the question that we are all asking is, are they a better team now than they were before? And I think that remains to be seen. We don't know. But we're going to find out. We'll be back tomorrow. And, of course, hopefully, we will be able to continue to break down the trade. I think by then we will probably have heard from some key people. So maybe we'll be able to talk a little bit more intelligently about it. There's obviously an NHL draft last week, and we will talk about that tomorrow. We've got a lot of different things that we can get to. And, of course, as always, thank you for tuning in to The Big Show.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.